Okay, next speaker is myself, and warm welcome to all the panelists here. And I'll be talking about the clinical features of approximately 2/3 of all our post-op cases, and commonest it is commonest after cataract surgery because cataract is the most common operative procedure in eye. And of course, the intravitreal injections are becoming commoner than cataract surgery these days. So the incidence has been reported as 1 in 2,700. And the incidence overall varies from 0.03% to 0.1%. The incidence of endophthalmitis, though, has sharply declined over past 50 years. It is still one of the most catastrophic complications of eye surgery. And I'll be talking about symptoms and signs. So, of course, blurred vision is the most common complaint, and that is the most alarming complaint that patients actually care for, and they would call you back. And the sudden increase of pain usually occurs in 1 to 7 days after surgery, and it may be absent in 25% of cases because of the post-op medications. The lid edema, conjunctival chemosis, yellowish exudates in the cul-de-sac, corneal edema, infiltrates, cells, flare, hypopia, and all signs of inflammations are seen in such cases. Exudates and fibrin membranes are a very concerning signs whenever it is seen by the ophthalmologist. Cellular debris in the vitreous, if you could see through the media, and retinal phlebitis is one of the first and foremost signs that one sees in a case of endophthalmitis. And the moment you see that, you should suspect endophthalmitis. Only a red reflex or dark reflex may be visible, obscuring all other details. And usually when we come across, the patients are referred to us are of this nature. And of course, poor dilatation and media opacity makes the posterior segment assessment very difficult. So the risk factors, we could divide it into surgical and others. What are the risk factors surgically? Would be wound abnormalities. You see this picture. There is a vitreous wick here, which leads to wound leak and sometimes can lead to inadvertent filtering bleb. And if there is a suture in place, it can lead to a suture abscess and endophthalmitis later on. And it has been seen that clear corneal incisions, there was a report that threefold increase of endophthalmitis, though the newer studies have not confirmed this increase in the incidence of endophthalmitis in temporal or clear corneal incisions. The other surgical risk factors are vitreous disturbance. Whenever you have a PC rent, in all those studies where PC rent or other disturbances were seen, the incidence of endophthalmitis was much more higher. And you see, these are the new techniques of scleral fixation lenses, where sometimes the haptic is absolutely exposed out to the outside world, inviting all the organisms into the eye. Sometimes the use of silk braided sutures can lead to infection. And contaminated solutions, IOLs, donor cornea, etc., are other causes of post-op endophthalmitis. The ocular risk factors are, you see, these are the very unhygienic, unhealthy lids. These can always lead to infection, inside eye. Severe MGD, blepharitis should be, taken care of before actually going in for surgery. Nasolacrimal duct infections and obstructions are always caution. And adnexal infections can also be, should be looked before any eye surgery. The systemic risk factors are active infection, diabetes, and immune compromise. This is a typical picture of a very severe bacterial endophthalmitis. This usually starts within 24 to 48 hours. And there is a marked visual loss, severe pain, lid edema, conjunctival hyperemia, and chemosis, increasing AC reaction, hypopia, no red glow, rapid progression of signs are there. And fungal endophthalmitis, it is usually of delayed onset. Symptoms are mild to minimal discomfort, fibropurulent AC exudates, vitreous snowball exudates, vitreous abscess, and it is most commonly due to Candida or Aspergillus fusarium. Nocardia, as Anita said, there was a study, we were there when it was reported from Aravind Eye Hospital. Nocardia was found to be one of the commonest, maybe because of the barefoot habits in the South India. And the exogenous variant involves the anterior segment. Vitreous is usually not a very good medium for growth of nocardia. And P. acnes, we all talk about it. It's a late onset endophthalmitis. These are anaerobic gram-negative bacilli, normal commensal of the conjunctival sac, as Anita said, and equatorial white plaques are seen in the IOL. and it responds very well to steroids. But the moment you taper off the steroids, it again recurs, and exacerbation of inflammation after yak capsulotomy. So, so people talk about sterile post-op endophthalmitis, or the other name is TAS. So the symptoms are usually less intense. You have these these could be because of intraocular drugs, gases, etc. The autoimmunity to lens cortical remnants can also lead to TAS. And residual chemicals from sterilization could be mechanical irritation of the iris ciliary body by IOL, excessive iris or vitreous manipulation. But I generally give a caution to everyone that the moment you see signs of inflammation in the eye in a post-op case, it is endophthalmitis until proved otherwise. Don't counsel yourself that, no, this cannot be infective and it is by some other means. No, it should be taken as endophthalmitis. And retained lens fragments and endophthalmitis may occur concurrently. Suspect infection in any post-op ocular inflammation with retained lens matter. So the lesson learned is early detection and timely intervention saves the eye, yet one can have unforeseen complications and one needs to be prepared for it. And visual recovery may be compromised following multiple procedures. A clear decision-making and documentation cannot be overemphasized. Thank you.